Town Council meeting for November 2nd. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to
the flag, United States of America,
to the republic
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice.
We have a delay. Laugh.
You need to verify that it's not being coerced by anybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's part of the law.
Oh. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. Just want to make sure everyone knows that Bill Boyd is on the speakerphone here. And Tom, would you repeat that to make sure I'm accurate?
My understanding is you need to verify that with a verbal response from him, he is alone, that he's with you. That he's alone and that he's not being coerced in any way.
Did you hear that, Bill?
Absolutely, Thomas, correct, and I'm by myself.
And you're not being coerced by anyone?
No, I'm not.
Okay, very good.
His dog.
Your dogs, yeah.
20 dogs.
Anyway, announcements. The town offices and the Merrimack Transfer Station will be closed on Friday, November 10th in observance of Veterans Day. We would like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation to the members of our military, past and present. Thank you for your service. There will be a joint Town Council School Board meeting on Tuesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room. There's also 3 regular meetings scheduled for here in the Matthew Thornton Room for the Town Council on Thursday, November 16th at 7 p.m., Thursday, December 7th at 7 p.m., and Thursday, December 21st at 7 p.m. When you read it out like that, by God, it's already the end of the year. Okay, I'm going to, Bill Boyd had asked me to, you know what, I'm going to wait until PFOA update. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Eileen, why don't you do that? I was going to announce something now, but I'm going to wait until after, so go right ahead.
Okay, I don't mean to steal your thunder, Brett. I think you sent this to me. You bet. On November 7th at 6:30, the library, can you hear me?
Bill, can you put your end on mute?
I'm happy to.
Thank you. We're hearing traffic.
Still hear it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
On November 7th at 6:30 p.m., the library will be screening a documentary entitled All Gave Some, an oral history of the Vietnam War, with a discussion of the film to follow, including 2 Vietnam veterans interviewed for the film, producer Mitchell Manus, and director Scott Strange. The creation of this documentary was funded by a New Hampshire Humanities Community Grant in collaboration with the Timberlane Regional High School students and staff, and documents and oral histories of New Hampshire's residents involved in the Vietnam War. Please join the Merrimack Parks and Recreation Department on Saturday, November 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their new Thanksgiving turkey scavenger hunt and compete for the chance to win a 16-pound Thanksgiving turkey. The Parks and Recreation Department will be hiding turkey-shaped cutouts throughout Merrimack. When you arrive at Wasserman Park at 10 a.m., you and your family will be given a list of clues that will direct you to each turkey. It is then up to you and your family to drive around and find as many turkeys as you can. The first 3 families or groups to return back to Wasserman Park with the most stickers on their card will win a 16-pound Thanksgiving turkey. The cost is just $5 per family to be part of this great event. The registration deadline is Monday, November 13th. Beginning on Wednesday, November 15th, their winter parking ban begins. So no vehicle or trailer shall be parked on any public street or highway between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. from November 15th through April 15th. And it references Merrimack Town Code, Chapter 183. There's been a change in the traffic pattern, as most of you who've gone on DW Highway today have seen. The traffic pattern at Daniel Webster Culvert Project has changed. Traffic is back on DW Highway, but pushed to the west near King Cone to facilitate restoration of the area between DW Highway and DW Drive. Please use caution when driving through the work zone. Thank you.
Okay, two things. One thing before the PFOA update. I did want to reiterate about the town council vacancy. The applications to be appointed by the council for this vacancy is due tomorrow, November 3rd. The interviews will occur November 8th and 9th, depending upon the number of applicants, and the final appointment will occur during the town council meeting on November 16th. Okay, PFOA update. Bill Boyd had spoken to me and wanted to make sure that two things, pieces of information are presented. He spoke with Dr. Chan, apparently, and they have continued to have a purposeful outreach to the Southern New Hampshire medical community. He specifically mentioned Southern Regional Medical Center, that they had contacted with them, and they're going to be disseminating information to all the primary physicians. So they're making much more concerted effort. The other thing he wanted us to note is that the website, the Department of Health and Human Services, does have 2 labs available, it's noted on the website, that individuals can have their blood test done, but at their own cost. And that's different from what I knew before. As far as I knew, you couldn't get blood tests done. But apparently there are 2 labs that you can have blood tests done, but you have to pay for it. So he wanted to make sure that those 2 pieces of information were presented. Okay, anything else? Anyone else have anything on PFOA? Because I don't. Okay, Highway Garage Project, any update?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes, we do. There was a meeting yesterday morning, and because of the storm, the electric service companies didn't come to give us any ideas about discounts.
They were otherwise
yeah,
occupied.
Right. They were otherwise occupied, yes.
Well, that's good to hear.
But there were discounts available, and Kyle wants to be sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. We discussed a little bit of revision of floor plans. They've already repositioned it so that the driveway will be moved toward the new building, and people won't have to get involved. The public visiting won't have to get involved with the yard where there might be repairs and trucks and so forth going out. And we discussed coloring and siding options without any decision being made. There were samples that we have examined, and there are some very nice possibilities. Our goal is to make the building fit in with the residential neighborhood, and that particular residential neighborhood, I should say, and in colors blending, and have a nice garage where people of Merrimack would be pleased with. That's our goal. Good looking, but not extravagant. And we've been advertising for subcontractors, and it will be on the website until December 15th for people to apply. Breaking ground. The target date is now April 4th. The completion date, it's so hard to know, because breaking ground, especially in April, and we know what April and May are like in New Hampshire, we don't know what kind of problems we might get into. We have, and our financing is, there are some contingencies involved with actual completion dates. We don't want to put it too early, because then our payments will start before we are really into the building. So we have put it that way out. We don't want anybody to get too worried about it, but we have put it at September of 2019, just to be sure. We hope that it will be well before that.
Great. Pete, you look like you have a question.
I don't know if this is the time, but I'm just curious on an update. Maybe Eileen has the number. Is there anybody still without power in town?
think there's 2 or 3.
I sent out the fire chief's second incident report, and I asked Becky, because it was earlier today, it was related to earlier today, and Becky called the fire chief, who's the emergency management director, to find out if there were any updates, and he said no. What was said at that point in time was that according to the patrols, the only power outages are in the area of Joe Ellen between Forsythia and Park, also Cathy Street, one area for low-hanging wires, I guess, and that is Matthew Drive. Roundtree is back up, and they're going to put out a message on Facebook.
There's still a pole down, right?
And they said that there's 2 road closures. I'm not sure if they got to them yet, because they were planning on getting to, I think, Joe Ellen Drive today. Hadley Road, the road is closed with wires down, and Joe Ellen Drive, and the cross street is number 5, Joe Ellen Drive. The road closed with wires broken, and a broken pole.
I believe there was something about there was one that they had to order a pole and a transformer that were going to come in tomorrow.
That's right, yes, Joe Ellen Drive.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
in light of that, I just kind of wanted to touch base and say, one, commend DPW, fire, and police, and then the people that kind of unsung heroes, the folks in communications. I've been there in the middle of those storms when those phones and alarms are going off, and those folks are busy and they're getting multiple calls, and they did a fantastic job. And I mean, I was out for 48 hours, and still, you know, I think everybody did it. I think the town services did a great job. They should be commended.
Agreed. Jackie?
This is a small but important little note. The new steps going up into Abbey Griffin Park had been really, all the work they did that Saturday a couple of weeks ago, they had washed down, including a lot of the seeds, and the loam had gotten displaced. And today, Sean O'Keefe came without even anybody asking him, and had his whole crew and put it all back together again. And I know I stopped to see, and he had a big mat to guard against for the seeds again. So I have to commend him too.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, any comments from the press or public? Seeing none. There are no recognition, resignations, or retirements, but we do have appointments. The Merrimack Public Library update. The Town Council will be presented with a library update of this year's past activities, as submitted by Library Board of Trustees Chair Richard Barnes. Come on in, guys. And Library Director Yvette Kuser. I was wondering if you were going to show up with your Halloween garb, Rick. Oh, you should have seen. Yeah, but I see him on Facebook. He had quite a get-up. He was like with The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they had professional makeup artists do all that on me. It was nice. A lot of fun.
I still recognized you.
All right. For those watching at home, I'm Rick Barnes, the chair of the Library Board of Trustees, and this is Yvette Kuser, the director at the library. We compiled a list of highlights of the past year at the library. If you have any questions, the town council has any questions, please feel free to jump in and interrupt. And happy to entertain. I'm sorry?
The mic?
This one's on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably have
Let me
to
just move it a little closer, sorry.
Getting signaled in back, that's why.
Okay, yeah, it's a little closer. Is that better? Okay. Yeah. Additionally, we'd like to just mention the library strategic plan and highlight goals that we've already accomplished through the plan.
Go ahead.
So, do you want to? Yvette, I think Yvette's going to do most of the talking tonight. So she's faster than I am.
I Could be slower. East Coast, okay. So, next year, 2018, marks the library's 125th anniversary, and we're working on, I know, can you believe it? We're working on some unique events that we're going to celebrate throughout the year. The actual anniversary date is January 1st, and the library is closed for New Year's Day, so we're not going to just celebrate on one day. The one event that I would like to maybe draw your attention to look forward to is during National Library Week, on the Saturday of National Library Week in April, on April 14th, we're planning something called a human library. I don't know if you've heard about a human library before. I'm seeing lots of blank stares. Okay, so very quickly, it is...
We're usually blank. You just...
This is a tough crowd, wow. So a human library is when we invite people in the community who have been discriminated against for any reason, and we're trying to provide a venue where people can have their stories heard. We're trying to reach some kind of understanding for people who are different from yourself. And we would do this on a day when the library is closed, so we can use lots of space in the library and have a private conversation in one area and another private conversation happening simultaneously in another part. The Goffstown Library has worked with their Goffstown High School the past couple of years to present this kind of program. I went to it in this last year, and it was amazing. Just to talk to people who were different than me and listen and try to not judge them, which, you know, we're all kind of, we can tend to do that, but really just to listen and try to understand someone where they are. So that's something, you know, we thought would be appropriate for the anniversary year, and we're starting to send out feelers. So, you know, if anyone feels they have a really strong desire to say, I need to have my, you know, my platform heard, please let me know. So anyway, so just to give you kind of a quick highlight, because I do want to touch on the strategic plan, we had a lot of staff changes this year. We had a couple of our full-time department heads leave, and so we've had replacements in adult services and in youth services. We had 2 retirements. One was part-time circulation, and the other one was full-time aide in the youth services department. We had an internal promotion to replace that full-time job in youth services, and then I kind of combined a circ job with my part-time secretary to kind of fill those two, that hole in circulation. And then building update, you know, we did unfortunately have another flood this summer. We had to move a lot of our events. It was kind of a repeat of last summer where, you know, we reached out to Matt Kasparius at Parks and Rec, and we were able to move some of the events to different locations. That was wonderful. He's always wonderful to work with. Paul McCallie was very instrumental in helping us, again, navigate insurance claims. This was not as bad a flood, thankfully, as the last one. And what we did to kind of plan ahead for another unfortunate event, hopefully not next year. But, you know, we moved the furniture around. You know, we had to remove furniture and move bookcases to ensure that the carpet was cleaned and dried properly. And then we rearranged everything so that furniture is now closer to the windows. So if we need to move them quick, it's just moving furniture. It's not moving a bookcase. So this last storm that we had recently that knocked out a lot of power, we had nothing. We had maybe a couple of... I know, really. A couple tablespoons of water on the windowsill, but nothing. So we did have our maintenance aide re-caulk all of the windows. So I think that's something that we're going to investigate, you know, changing the windows, and then, you know, maybe looking at the drain. I think a thing that really helped a lot, we had the parking lot repaved this summer, and the water was rerouted. You know, next time it rains, if you want to see something really nice, you come down to the library and watch the water run off. It's a beautiful sight. It runs off the way it's supposed to.
There's a little lip now by that one door on the parking lot side, so it helps divert where the water would go into the door before. Now it kind of goes around a little bit. So, you know, we're always watching it, but that was a big relief that we didn't have to deal with water in the library. Nice. We have been continuing reconfiguring
furniture on the main floor in the adult reference area. That's a little bit ongoing. Tech Services, which is a staff office that most of you actually never see, had a fresh coat of paint and some new furniture. We are also reconfiguring the workspace there just to use the space better. Sidewalk is being repaired now. So the concrete was poured. This was, if you remember, there's a little ramp that goes up to the door. It was really broken up between two seams. And so we worked with Kyle Fox and Lori Barrett, and they were incredible. And we have a wonderful staff in the other departments, I have to just say. They're really wonderful. I mean, I just call with a question, and it's an immediate response. I mean, talk about immediate response. I totally agree with you. You know, Kyle was very quick to contact Lori. They ordered a ramp because we had to move the handicap parking spaces over by 2. And then she ordered a ramp. It was there the next day and installed, and we're good to go. You know, we don't have to close during this repair, which is very important to us.
It's pretty extensive, too. If you drive
yeah,
by the library, you'll see
it's
all
all
the
blocked off, but, you know,
cones and
another week will be good.
the orange fencing and everything.
Yes.
We're used to it over here.
I know.
That's right.
I know.
Yeah, we're finally
know.
non-code.
So that's that. Last year we had a turkey shoot event in November, and we raised funds to improve the outside area, some seating, and just visually improve it. And so we've been working on we've been working with a teacher from Concord Tech, and she assigned her class the assignment to design landscaping for the library and just figure out what kind of improvements we could make. It was kind of extravagant, so we pulled back from that, and but it was free, you know, the drawing. So we like free. And we thought, you know, how can we interpret this with what's reasonable for us? And it was very simple stuff. Painting the maintenance shed green. It disappears now. We had an Exchange Club shed, which, you know, it's a great program. It was a great program, but it was kind of an eyesore. And we really wanted to utilize that corner better with an exterior book drop. So that actually was removed. We're going to move the dumpster. We're going to put a privacy fence there. And then we, you know, repaired the sidewalk. We're removing shrubs that are at the front of the building on the parking lot side. And we just had 2 picnic tables delivered this week, along with everything else going on. So there's additional group seating outside. One of the tables closest to the building and closest to a ramp has 1 seat open, so that if someone is in a wheelchair, they can just pull up into that space. So we wanted to just provide, that was one of the things that came out of the strategic plan that we were able to address last year with the funding. So we're moving along with that. That was really a nice building improvement. Partnerships, one of the big partnerships that we were able to start this year is a partnership with St. Joseph Community Services and Meals on Wheels. So right now what we're doing is we have a partnership that enables their clients on one of their routes, on a Thursday route, to receive library materials from us. They have a library card and they select their materials, they have a conversation with our staff, or they fill out a form, and then we send the book bag with a driver. And this happens every week. It can, you know, we can just keep doing this as long as they're interested. It's kind of a pilot program because we don't have drivers yet engaged with the library to help us. And we want to just make sure the logistics on our side were worked out, you know, so that we could load these bags and fill them and store them and figure out all that stuff on this end. But that's really been very good so far. Yes.
Pete?
Peter?
I just want to jump in there, Yvette, and
Yep.
say, I'm on the board of directors for Meals on Wheels,
Yeah.
and everybody is very happy about this program.
Good.
You're the first program in Hillsborough County, and the CEO of Meals on Wheels is reaching out to the other communities, and I'm hoping it catches on. I
Yep.
think it's a great program, and you and your staff should be commended.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's another reason, another way that it's a pilot, you know, so that other libraries can see it as a model. And we've actually had another library ask us, you know, how is it working? So we're very pleased. And we'd like to expand it, so soon we're going to be asking if there are people who would like to volunteer as drivers. I'll probably be talking to Paul about if that's a problem. Yeah. Because we don't want to have any problems. But we want to be able to reach patrons, potential patrons or residents who are not using our services.
Who aren't mobile enough to be able to get to the library.
Right. So that was something that came out of our strategic plan. It came out of our phone surveys, but I'll get to that. So that was really nice. We're continuing technology classes with the Michael Liver Memorial Foundation. Right now they're running a Python programming coding class on Mondays, and they're cooperating with the high school students. So we have students in on Monday nights. It's a 10-week course. Attendance is required because they're building on skills from the previous week. This past summer for summer reading, we had something called a Teen Squad Initiative. We had 20 teens apply for positions to participate on 4 squads, which were focusing on different areas of the library. One was reading to younger children. One was researching and assembling kits for circulation, like technology kits and kits that are children's toys for circulation. One was with me doing outreach and different kind of library collection projects. They were very helpful when we had the flood, and they were helping me assess materials that were damaged. And we had another squad that was working with a 3D printer and learning about it and trying to put together some kind of teaching materials so that we could hopefully get to the next level about teaching people how to program or design objects to be printed, not just kind of grabbing something off Thingiverse, but to really start to be makers. That's kind of the goal with maker spaces in libraries. It's, actually being makers and tinkerers, not just, copies. So it's all in the works. Let's see, we're offering notary public services now. I'm also a justice of the peace, so we were hoping to support the town efforts with, being able to offer these services to the public when the town offices are closed. So, we're open later at night, we're open on weekends. We've had a lot of response from people to be able to do that, so that's really wonderful. I've also done one wedding. I haven't done a wedding in the library yet, but I've done one wedding up in Lincoln, and I'm doing another one on the 12th. Not in the library yet.
We so want somebody to get married in the library. We so want that.
That's my dream. I know, you think it's the nerdiest thing ever.
That picnic table's going out.
Yes, yes.
Who's speaking? I mean, it's me. It's so me. Anyway, I know. Okay. Do you want to talk about policies? I've fired through this.
Oh, hold on. One program I would like to also point out, it's not actually available yet, but it's coming, are the cake pans.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe I missed that.
Yes.
So we had a junior Girl Scout approach us in the past 2 months to complete her silver award with us.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
That's like
Very
an Eagle
exciting.
Scout.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I don't bake that much.
No, he's really excited about this thing. I'm excited because I have about 50 cake pans in my office still, and I'd like to kind of get them out into circulation. But she's not quite done with that part of it. So Sarah Hardy and her mother, Tracy Hardy, assisted a little bit with posting on the forum and on the Merrimack, the Positive Forum, and just getting the word out to the community to collect recipes for a cookbook that she received a grant for to print off 37 copies. Some of those copies will be put in the collection, and the Friends of the Library have agreed, they had a meeting this week, so the Friends of the Library have agreed to sell the rest of them to the public. And I'm not sure what the price was. I think it was $8 or $10.
8 or 10.
Yeah.
I think it might be 10.
Yeah. So we're going to be able to do that soon. But then she also asked for donations of specialized cake pans. To my knowledge, the Hooksett Library and Amherst Public Library offer specialized cake pans in their collection. So if you have a special birthday coming up and you don't want to invest in, a Homer Simpson pan, and the library has it, then you could just get your pan, make your cake, return the pan, hopefully clean, and then it goes back
with
to
a piece of cake in it.
for me. No, so we have a very diverse set of pans that are ready to go soon. Sarah has been working around a very busy academic and athletic schedule and Girl Scout schedule to create a spreadsheet of the pans with their specifications, taking photographs of them, and this is all preliminary work so that we can get it into the catalog. We're also going to have it in a binder, so you'll have pictures of the pans, and then we can't store them on the floor, but we can store them in periodical storage downstairs, and we can retrieve them for you. So it's very exciting. We're excited to have those come out soon. Thank you for reminding me about that. That's a great one.
So the trustees recently have just gone over, but we're trying to go through all the policies for the library and update all of them. The big one that we just accomplished was the staff policy manual, which was the first time it's been updated in 5 years, and we did a really big overhaul on that one, which was a lot of work. The strategic plan.
We'll get to that. No. We can get to that now.
Do you want to dive into that?
We can dive into
Yeah,
that.
dive into that now.
So you should have received these in your packets. Yes? No. Okay. So anyway, if you want to read the plan, it is available on the website, and it's 62 pages.
Well, no wonder it wasn't. No wonder it's not any.
Okay, fine. But just to kind of give you an overview of this, back in 2013, the trustees hired the UNH Survey Center to do a telephone survey. So what we wanted was an independent survey taken of people who didn't use the library. Because, usually when you're going to survey a population, you do it, come into the library, fill out the piece of paper. We already love you. I don't need to hear from you. I mean, I do, but I really, not for this.
There's a population that you were not hearing from.
Exactly.
Right. We really wanted to see who are we not serving in the library or in the town.
And
so,
why.
And why. So the trustee board, we created a questionnaire, and it was really something focused on user satisfaction. And it was, completed during a week in October. It covered a weekend, and they completed, the UNH Survey Center completed 400 calls, and then we got the results. And the results were shocking. They were embarrassing, made me a little bit sad, but we're moving on. So basically what happened was, a lot of people in Merrimack have a library card. Most people who have a card do not use the library because they have Kindles, because there's the internet, because there's Google. Okay. They also said that we should be open later. They also said we should offer things like book groups and these certain kind of programs. What that really said to me was we are not marketing our services well, because we have book groups and we have electronic materials and we do these kind of programs, and we're open, 4 nights out of 7. I mean, we really were not communicating well. So we did the phone survey. We had several members of, Finley, you were actually on this committee when we did a strategic planning committee. We had 3 meetings of community members, different ages, different areas of where they might, be located, and education levels and interests. We heard from them. We had a facilitator overseeing these conversations. We had some staff focus groups, and then we just kind of watched trends. And then we just compiled all of this into the plan about what do we do with this information and where do we go from here. So that's kind of that was a little bit of background about how we found this data. All of that information about methodology is available in the plan. But I'm going to touch upon the executive summary because that's really where we're moving forward. So themes that rose to the top in these conversations were that residents saw the library as a learning center and an information hub. We're doing it and we can do it better. And then also some of the complaints that they had was the lack of space in the building, and also that it was very cluttered. We had a lack of communication, and that was internal as well as from the library and going out into the community. They wanted us to collaborate more with other town departments, businesses, organizations, and the schools. Then we had to, take these suggestions and boil it down into service priorities and goals. So our goals are to be a cultural and educational center. What that means basically is that we are going to acquire materials and information sources and offer a robust slate of programming that promotes lifelong learning. I did update the mission statement that we had come up with in 2012, I think, because it never actually mentioned that we were a library. It just said that we were a service, we were going to provide a, responsive service to our patrons, but it never actually said we are going to collect stuff and hold it for you, which is a unique service that libraries do. We're also going to, as a second goal, cultivate technology to create a generation of tinkerers and citizen scientists. Some of this, this is why we bought a 3D printer. It's why we're trying to increase our partnerships with Michael Lover Memorial Foundation. It's why we purchased Niche Academy, which is an online video class. We have Atomic Learning. We have Safari. These are all online databases where you can, in Safari, for example, you can get the latest book on how to do Java, or, I was looking at it for QuickBooks. It's
There's a lot
great,
of really good computer books.
it's really good.
Yeah.
And he's an IT guy, so.
Yeah, a lot of good computer books.
We also developed a technology plan out of that. That's one of the goals. So we have a plan of where we're going in the future with our technology. Third goal was to invest in the staff to maximize service for our patrons. So that really touches on our recruitment, training, retention. We looked at salaries. The salary survey that you might have heard about last year or the year before came out of that. We want to make sure we send our staff to professional development opportunities. We are going to create a staff succession plan so that we can be more prepared for the future. Goal 4 was improve the patron experience. This touches on the collection and the space. So we want to make sure we have the right level of staffing so that we can offer the right kind of services for folks. Everyone is trained in customer service. We are looking to expand service hours. We implemented online tracking for summer reading, replacing the computers that patrons use, doing outreach programs. Homebound Services came out of this. Goal 5 is be good stewards of an historic building and grounds. We've just talked about things that we just updated with the sidewalk and the parking lot and rearranging the furniture, trying to declutter and see how can we create more patron seating. The Lowell room is a product of that. Rearranging the children's room is a product of that.
And the Lowell room's always being utilized, too.
It's very busy.
Meetings in it all the time.
Yeah. Let's see, Goal 6, plan for the library's future needs and services. So with this, we've started to get together, we've had joint meetings with the Friends of the Library Group, the trustees, and the Merrimack Public Library Development Fund Committee, which is basically our foundation. So that's something that these 3 groups had never met, in my knowledge, together. I was going to all the meetings, but they were talking about the same things in each meetings, but they really needed to sit down together and plan better.
Real quick on
Yeah,
that point,
sure.
we've had liaisons on the different boards, but like she said,
Right.
the 3 boards never really sat down and communicated. So we do have our next meeting with the 3 groups the end of this month to kind of start the discussion of duties, so we don't have the groups stepping on each other, repeating the same things, and just kind of hash out Group A, Group B, Group C, each does this, really define who does what.
Right. Goal 7, provide outreach to underserved populations. The telephone survey really targeted populations that we were not reaching. One was teens, one was senior citizens, homebound, another one was men, and residents who have an income lower than $45,000 and residents who did not attend college. So these folks are not using the library. So for example, the teen room, we renovated the teen room and created a designated space in the Henderson room of the Lowell Memorial Building, and pulled it away from where it seemed to be kind of tucked as an afterthought by the north window, and now it's a really viable teen space. And we did the teen squad program over the summer, you know, that also came out of how do we reach the teens? What kind of services can we provide for them? We're talking about building on the teen squads and offering classes that are called Adulting 101, where, you know, someone who's a young adult doesn't really know how to deal with their finances. They don't know how to put a resume together. They don't know how to have a job interview. I've had interviews with young people, they don't know how to shake your hand properly. Really little things that, you know, kind of you assume that parents and caregivers are passing on to their children as they get on their own, and they aren't necessarily. So that's something we can very easily assist with. So, you know, we're also just trying to do more marketing and publicity of our services, and just so we can reach people better and let them know what we're up to. We're doing a lot more partnerships with high school and the middle school. You know, when we have a new staff person come in, it always brings in a lot of new ideas, and we get to build on the relationships that we have already. So that's another thing that we're doing.
Okay, can you sort of wrap up a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions about anything that I mentioned.
I'm fascinated.
You're
All I
fascinated?
can say that is that, and I say this every year, and I mean it every year, I've been so impressed with the things that you've done at the
Thank you.
library.
Thanks.
And a lot of it just has to do with looking at things like the survey,
Yeah.
which is a very good thing to do. Honestly, looking at the results to help guide what your future is going to be, taking responsibility about the kinds of things you need to do to
Right.
improve, and acknowledging what you do well. But you're doing a really nice job.
Thank you.
should know that.
Thanks.
Definitely
Yeah,
trying to
we,
look ahead.
Yeah.
we're always going to keep moving forward. I don't think there's no reason to stop. You know, we can always keep improving. I've told the different groups in the library we're going to sit with this for a year, and then next year we start writing in the next one. You know, we always have to keep building on what we're doing.
Exactly. Jackie?
I do want to say that I had to go on to your website, which I wouldn't normally do, because I was taking one of your little language classes. That was very fun, and it was interactive, if people don't know about that. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many different languages it had.
There's a lot.
And I became so proficient, I could ask où est la musée.
Nice.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And one cashier said to me, "Well said, madam." But anyway, the other thing is, I thought that people would like it if they go in and see the plentiful things that you offer on the main, in the big, continuation of the website. It's unbelievable.
Pete?
Just, Yvette, statistically speaking,
Yep.
how many, can you tell me, I mean, I guess I'm not sure, how many customers you've served as far as, and how would you do that, by books loaned? Or?
We count card holders. We have half of the residents in town have cards.
Okay.
So,
And is there any way to show how many of those use the card and they?
yeah, we can show unique users, which is unique users, and we have, we can pull any statistics on anything you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Audits of how many people come to the events at the library and things like that as well.
Yeah, we have a door count. We do look at circulation. That doesn't mean that I know what you check out. It's just that it's an item and a certain type of item. I know if we can pull statistics on if you're using a certain database, because we're very interested in, we're putting a certain amount of our resources to database, purchasing, and we want to make sure that's a good use of the money. So yeah, we can pull all that.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to be able to?
I talked a lot.
No,
Anything
not
you
really. You hit everything.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much, the big thing was the strategic plan.
That is the big accomplishment of the year, yeah. And if you want to read it, it's available on the website. Like I said, it's under Mission and Policies, and there are also several copies that can be checked out. They're printed and bound, not fancy bound, just in a folder. And they're in the New Hampshire collection, which is in my office, so it's a non-circulating collection, but you can ask for it, and we can have you reserve it. So,
there was one other thing I wanted to make sure for the listeners at home. November 15th is our annual turkey shoot this year. It's Wednesday this year. It's at the high school cafeteria, and we're going to be raising money for the outdoor book drop. So people will be able to just drive up in their car and drop their books off without even having to get off out of their cars. So yeah, that's a fun event for anybody who's never been there. I highly recommend it.
Excellent. Glad you got that in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate it,
for
guys.
giving us the time.
Okay, public hearing. Lieutenant Marquis, you want to come up? Public hearing, STEP grant acceptance for the Merrimack Police Department, submitted by Lieutenant Eric Marquis. The Town Council will hold a public hearing to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant in the amount of $16,334.32 made available through the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for the Merrimack Police Department for, quote, sustained traffic enforcement patrols, end quote, pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 18-15. So go right ahead. Yeah, you'll do yours, then I'll open a public hearing.
Okay. The Merrimack, excuse me, Sustained Traffic Enforcement Patrols grant is for the amount of $16,334.32. This would fund 52 4-hour patrols between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. We would also participate in 12 other patrols for 4 hours during the National Highway Safety Operation Safe Commute campaign and 2 patrols during the Join the Click campaign. The STEP patrols would be utilized to focus on known trouble areas during the commuting hours with the ultimate goal of reducing accidents and making our roadways safer for our residents and commuting public. These patrols could be used to focus on traffic control devices that are not being followed, speeding in various areas, and or school bus complaints. This past year, a total of 796 vehicles were stopped during the patrol, which resulted in 803 warnings, 71 summonses being issued, as well as 2 arrests. Yes, that's pretty much it.
Okay, the only, excuse me, question I have, the legal notice of public hearing noted 12,150.
That's the, yeah.
Oh,
that's the
okay.
DWI patrols.
Is it one of the other
It's
grants?
listed, oh, it's reversed. Thank you. They had it misfiled. Number 2 was number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll take back that question. Because our number 1 public hearing was not listed as number 1 in here, that's all. Tom?
Doesn't have to do with this particular one, but the memo that we received from you talked about 3 different grants, and yet only 2 of them are up for public hearings, and one of them is not. Can you help me understand that?
I
Anybody?
believe that has to do with the amount. I think if, once it hits, I think it's $10,000. I think that, I'm not actually sure, but I believe that's what Becky told me in regards to that. Once it hits a certain dollar amount.
Because the one wasn't noticed. I didn't know that was how it worked, but if it is, the second part of that wasn't noticed in our agenda. I don't believe.
Are we talking the 6,000?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's why that's not.
And it's below 10,000, that's why it doesn't have to go before a public hearing
The
and get
second
approval?
one is for how much? For 12
Well, there's 3 of them. There's the 12,150, then there's 16,334, which is what we're doing
6,292.
now. And the third one was 6,292.
Correct.
And if it's under 10,000, it doesn't have to go before.
A
Is
public
that
hearing.
accurate?
I'm sure Paul has verified that. I thought it was 5, but I'm sure that, Paul has vetted this through the.
We can double check that,
Yeah,
though.
will do.
Why don't we, I would just like to
Okay.
recommend if we're going to be playing grants like this from the same department, that we do them all together in the future, regardless of the amount. I don't know if it's an issue, but maybe it costs us a few dollars to put out a public hearing notice. But it seems a little silly to have 2 of them now and then one of them later in the agenda. They're all from the same department, they're all for the same department, they're all related to the same kind of thing.
Eileen?
I agree that they should all be put in the same area, but I also believe that each of these grants require their own separate public hearing.
Yeah, but the one doesn't have a public hearing, and I think it should go ahead and just be treated like the others.
Right, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a contrary question, though? At one point, because we're saying, as a policy, supposedly, anything under $10,000 doesn't need to be approved by us,
No,
nor
it needs to be approved, because it's in the
nor a
agenda.
public hearing.
Doesn't need a public hearing. It's in the agenda later on.
Okay, but does that set a precedence for other under 10,000 amounts? That's all. There might be confusion related to it, that's the only reason.
So,
Yes, Pete?
so Tom, you're suggesting that all grants,
No, just in this
Oh.
case where there's 3 grants and 2 of them have to go before public hearings, why don't we just put all 3 of them before a public hearing
Okay.
and accept them all? And not treat one as an orphan child, even if it is only $292. That's all. I was confused when I was looking at it, trying to
You're
figure out what the rationale was. It's not listed anywhere in here, so it suddenly blows 5 minutes of our council meeting as we wonder, why are we doing this?
Lieutenant, just quick, when you did all these get approved at the same time from the state?
I received them all at the same time,
Okay.
yes. Mhm.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna open the public, I did remember it. Oftentimes I don't, but I did this time. Open the public hearing at 8:03. Seeing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing at 8:04. Okay, entertain a motion.
I make a motion
That's the roll
to,
call.
I guess I'd start with the DWI patrols. Make a motion to accept the amount of $12,150.
Oh, wait a minute, we have to do the
We're doing the
16,000.
step discussion now, not the DW.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's all right. That's why it's, right, I understand your confusion, it's just, so we're doing the 16,000 one right now. So you want to do that?
Certainly. All right. I'd make a motion that we accept the amount of $16,334.32 for the Merrimack Sustained Traffic Enforcement Patrols, the STEP grant.
Second? I'll second.
Seconded.
Oh, Bill Boyd second. I was going to call on you. Okay, now I need to do a roll call vote. Tom Koenig?
Yes.
Finley Rothhaus?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Bill Boyd?
Aye.
Yea or nay?
He said aye.
Oh, aye, okay, I didn't hear. And Nancy Harrington, yes. So that's going to be 6-0-0. Okay, public hearing, DWI patrols, grant acceptance for the Merrimack Police Department. The town council will hold a public hearing to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant in the amount of $12,150 made available through the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for the Merrimack Police Department for Merrimack DWI patrols pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15. Go for it.
The Merrimack DWI Patrols grant is for the amount of $12,150 and would fund 33 6-hour patrols between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. These patrols would focus on detecting DWIs. It would predominantly be held on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. We may schedule patrols around special events such as Super Bowl, St. Patrick's Day, which are known events that are focused around alcohol. This past year, we conducted 18 patrols, which resulted in 8 arrests, 2 for illegal possession, transportation of drugs, 2 for DWI, and 4 for protective custody. Officers stopped 146 vehicles during the patrols and issued 124 warnings for various offenses, as well as 10 summonses.
Excellent. Any questions from any of the? Yes, John.
So this past year, we only did 18 patrols, but this grant is now for 33 patrols?
Yes, we were given more money. They had more money available, so we accepted it.
Okay. And this is specifically for DWI patrols?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'd like to open the public hearing at 8:06. And the rush of people coming up. Seeing none, close the public hearing at 8:07. Entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that the council accept the amount of $12,150 for the Merrimack DWI Patrols grant from the New Hampshire Department of Highway Safety.
Second.
Seconded.
Motion made by Peter Albert, second by Bill Boyd. Roll call vote. Tom Koenig,
Aye.
Finley,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and I also say aye, so 6-0-0. And we have a couple things to do, but you sit right there.
Okay,
Okay.
will do.
Okay, legislative updates from state reps. Seeing none. Town managers report. Eileen?
I have nothing.
Nothing. We do not have consent agenda. We do not have old business. Just as a word of clarification, when we talk about the code that we've been working on, we've had public hearing and final readings. It's only been a week since we did the previous notice. So we could not put public hearing or final readings because there wasn't enough time between meetings. Okay? So we have multiple first readings tonight, but we couldn't do the final nor the public hearing. There wasn't enough time between meetings. Just to clarify. Okay, new business. See, didn't take long. We're into the new business here with Lieutenant Marquis. Donation acceptance for the Merrimack, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry,
Eileen.
probably an appropriate time, but is it okay if there are members of the audience that would like to weigh in on the veterans tax discussion? So would it be possible to move that up before all the changes in the chapters? Because they would probably
That's fine
fall
with me.
asleep during
Absolutely.
that part.
Fall asleep. That's fine.
They're pretty bad.
The donations should not take long, so we'll do the veterans right after that. That's a good idea, Eileen. Thank you for offering it. Okay, town council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $150 from Anne Moran for the Merrimack Police Department to be used towards the National Night Out event pursuant to RSA 31-45-B and Charter Article 8-15. And that's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Is there anything you want to add to that? Okay. Any discussion? Yes, Peter.
It's just, Lieutenant, can we make sure, and I'm sure you're already on it, but a letter of thanks goes to Mrs. Moran, who's put $150 out of her pocket to help that worthy program? Thank you.
Tom?
It just seems like we ought to say something so that the public that's watching has a clue why there's $150 floating around. And presumably, Anne Moran was helped by the fire and police department in July of 2017 and was so thrilled with the support and so grateful for the help she got. She's made this $150 donation and asked that it be provided, be attached to a wish list that can't fit into the budget. And the police department has decided to apply that towards the National Night Out program, which it is held. You supply pizza, ice cream, water, popcorn to the families that attend the event. There are activities for children, and the night was capped with the showing of a family movie this past year, and you're going to do it again.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Very good. Motion?
Move that we accept the grant for $150 with gratitude from Anne Moran to the police department to be used for items that don't fit into their normal budget.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, second by
Second?
Seconded.
Peter Albert. Got to be a little faster there, Bill.
Okay.
It's a pause, he can't help
He did.
it.
I think there's a delay in the transmission. That's the problem. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Roll call vote.
This is a roll call?
Yeah, they
Everything's a
all
roll call
there.
while Bill's on the phone.
Oh, okay. Get it, now I know. Okay, roll call, Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Finley,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Bill, and I say aye, so that's 6-0-0. Okay, so all decisions have to be roll call.
Every vote
Okay,
has to be a roll.
gotcha. Okay, donation acceptance for the Merrimack Police Department. Town Council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $3,500 from Digital Federal Credit Union for the Merrimack Police Department to be used to offset expenses for the PACT program and National Night Out event pursuant to RSA 31-95-B and Charter Article 8-15. Go for it.
In September, the Merrimack Police Department received a check that was written in the name of the Merrimack.
You need to push the button or talk into it more directly.
Push the button. The amount of $3,500 in a letter written by Diana Tessera, the Public Relations Manager for DCU Credit Union. She states that the donation represents DCU's support for our organization's efforts in providing programs that make a difference in the communities we serve. The police department is respectfully requesting that the council accept this donation on behalf of the town and department and allow the expenditure of the monies to go to a worthwhile program. The program that fits this request is specifically the PACT Police and Children's Together program. This has been a collaborative effort between the police department and the Merrimack School District since 2009. Monies from this donation will also be directed to our National Night Out. This is a national program that brings police and the community together on the first Tuesday of August of each year. The past 2 years, we have hosted the movie night at one of our parks. Monies will be used to offset the expenses to purchase educational materials for the classroom, along with promotional gifts that are given to students, such as honorary badges, hat, food, stickers, and other giveaways.
Excellent. Any questions?
They've done this for a few, Digital's done this for a few years, have they not?
Yeah, I believe so. They've been
Is it from
very.
2009?
What's that?
Have they been doing it since '09?
I'm actually not.
It was a
Peter, do you
program.
know?
just
I
came
want
out.
to say.
Well, the PAC program has been since 2009.
Okay, yeah, because this, they've done it 2 or 3 years.
This is the second year in a row.
Yeah, very nice.
And while we're talking about it, I just wanted to, we've had 2 items just to talk about National Night Out, and I've gone to the National Night Out, and I think it's a great program. It's down at Watson Park. They have a significant number of young kids and families. I think it promotes a lot of young children. It separates, it takes away that separation of a police cruiser door, and it humanizes the badge and so forth, and it brings the kids and the officers together. The officers are supervising, involved in playing the games and the different things that take effect there or take place there. So I think it's a great program, and I really like to see that DCU, one of our local banks on Premium Outlet Boulevard there, has joined in to help as a community partner. So thank you, DCU.
Yes, thank you. Okay, entertain a motion.
Oh, okay.
We're a little slow
I'm
tonight,
just
aren't
used to
we?
having Bill Boyd
I know.
around, and he's not hitting the button here. Bear with me. I move that we accept the gift from Digital Credit Union as presented this evening.
Motion made by Finley Rothaus, second by
Seconded.
Tom Koenig. Okay, roll call vote. Tom Kay?
Yes.
Finley Rothaus?
Yes.
Jackie Flood?
Yes.
Peter Albert?
Yes.
Bill Boyd?
Aye.
I also say aye, 6-0-0. Okay, last
Motions
one.
have been a little awkward
Just-
this evening.
Distracted driving patrols, grant acceptance for the Merrimack Police Department. Town Council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant in the amount of $6,292.03 made available through the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for Merrimack distracted driving patrols for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15. Is that why you're here, Paul? Oh, it just came in? It's what? Ah, okay. Any questions about this, however? Okay. You do
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
question? Or you want to do a motion?
No, actually, I just, I'm not going to be supporting this one, and the reason I'm not is because of, just our last agenda item where Peter spoke about the community policing component, humanizing the badge and all. I'm proud of how our police department works, and that is in fact what they really focus on and do a great job at it. My concern with these grants, and this is the only one of the three of the two public hearings we held in this one, where the numbers do come in substantially higher, almost double what we normally issue in summonses on a regular basis. I've always been interested over the years of summons that people will receive for a traffic infraction, and it's normally 6 to 8%. This one is about 15%, which is why I'm not going to be supporting it. If it were an educational component and all, which I believe it is to a great degree, but this one is, for me, it's just a little bit out of line with what I would like to see. So I appreciate it. Here comes the law enforcer right now.
Whereas I can understand where Councilor Rothaus is coming from, I would disagree, and no surprise to anybody here, is that one of the things I've seen over the years, and I'm sure the lieutenant can attest to, is, and all you have to do is drive down the highway and watch the cars weaving side to side and driving over the white line off the roadway and back on. So I think it's an important program, and I think it keeps, people have to be aware of it, and it's one of the major causes of accidents, more so I think than DWI at this point. So I'm in support of it, and I would ask the council to accept this money.
Tom Keeney?
Whereas I really appreciate Peter Albert's position and local experience with the same, I'm agreeing with Finley on this issue, mostly because I just disagree with the way that they're passed the law on handheld devices and made it very specific to cell phones, but radios and things like that are not implied, yet they can be just distracting for somebody that has a radio in their car to be handling the handset and things of that nature. I don't think it's been ably applied, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to be accepting grant money to go out and chase people down that are touching their phones. Now, if there's somebody weaving on the roads, I think the police should be pulling them over anyway to find out what the heck their problem is, whether it's DWI or distracted driving. And while I don't disagree with having laws against distracted driving so that people don't injure and damage other people, I don't particularly like the way it's being presented and implemented and kind of broad brushed across all people. I mean, if I touch my phone, I'm technically in violation. Technically, and whether you can see it or not because it's below the window is a whole other story. And I've had people say, well, I just put it on speakerphone and set it down on the seat, and then I can talk all day long. And I have a car now that has Bluetooth, so I can talk all day long too. But I just don't appreciate the way it is being handled, and I don't think it's appropriate.
This also incorporates negligent operation, which is any type of distraction at all, which would incorporate radio or putting your makeup on in the mirror, anything like that.
But the focus in here talks about handheld devices more than anything else. It really very strongly.
That's the main focus. Yeah.
Pardon?
I would say that's the main focus.
Yeah, and that's the part I disagree with most personally. So,
Peter?
Lieutenant, during these patrols, is there, as Councilor Rothaus brought up, is there an educational aspect? Are we handing out any informational packets or anything when we stop somebody, or is it just the officer talking?
I think it's just verbal, explaining what the law is and what the law's about and how it works.
And, I guess I could see if it were if I thought that the police department weren't using good discretion, but as I see the information provided, there were 440 warnings issued and 27 summonses. So I guess I don't feel like the police department is being heavy-handed in that matter. So I think maybe just the fact that there are 440 warnings, excuse me, sorry.
You're right.
75 summonses.
75 summonses.
75.
I still don't see that I think that the warnings far outweigh the summonses. And, I think they're using good discretion. I think there is an educational aspect of that.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's do a motion. Pete?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that the council accept $6,290.
Peter.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that the council accept the amount of $6,292.03 for the purpose of the Merrimack Distracted Driving Patrols Grant.
Motion made by Peter Albert, second by Bill. Oh, Jackie. Jackie Flood. Okay, roll call vote. Thomas
No.
Koenig, Finley Rothaus,
No.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes?
Bill Boyd. Yo, Bill.
Aye.
That's an aye, okay. And I'm also going to say aye.
Eileen has a comment.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, a little birdie just told me that we didn't say expend. It has to say accept it and expend.
Say,
The motion has to say accept and expend.
Acceptance and expend. Would you modify your motion to say and spend?
ex-
Friendly amendment. You have to say in your motion acceptance and expend.
Okay. So should I withdraw my motion?
No,
Okay,
just say
all right.
modified as
I just, at this
suggested.
point, I'd modify the motion to say that the council accept and allow the police department to expend the amount of $6,292.03 for the Merrimack Distracted Driving Patrols Grant.
And Jackie, do you accept that?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have to do another roll call? No. Okay, so based upon that, a lot of
Point of order,
parliamentary.
the other ones probably didn't say an expend as well, so maybe we can do a blanket modification
Okay,
to
let's
include the
finish
words
this
and
one
expend.
first.
Okay. Thought you
And
did,
you're
sorry.
right, we'll do that. So this, however, vote is 4-2-0, Tom Koenig and Finley Rothaus in negative. Okay, I would, may I make that motion? I can make a motion, right? I just never have. I would like to make a motion that any of the previous approved acceptances of donations include expenditure in the motion. I'm sorry?
Donations and grants.
Donations and grants, thank you. So I'd like to make that
Second.
generalized motion. Motion made by Nancy Harrington, second by Tom Koenig. Any question, clarification for that? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Finley Rothaus.
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert.
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and myself as well, so it's 6-0-0. So that covers any, in case we missed it, hopefully. It's been a very kind of weird evening, hasn't it? Okay, thank you very much, Lieutenant.
Thank you all.
And as suggested, we are going to do the All Veterans Tax Credit discussion right now.
Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to go over the tax rate that we just received, or just move right on.
I was going
the-
to do it afterwards,
Okay,
but
whatever you would like.
why don't we do the tax credit, then we can do that, so that the
Okay.
audience can get in here and out of here, too.
Yes, in 2000, August 8th, 2016, a new RSA went into effect whereby all veterans would be afforded the same opportunity to get a tax credit from their, to reduce their tax bill. The law is, the town of Merrimack has a similar one, an earlier version of this tax credit, and the difference between the two really relates to serving during wartime versus an armed conflict versus not. So this one is actually for all veterans that were honorably discharged. And in order to, this is enabling legislation, there's an option for selecting certain amounts of money up to $500 per veteran. You currently, the one that you currently have is $500 off of each veteran's bill. You've selected that amount, and this can be any amount as well.
I just had a quick question.
Okay.
If this actually goes through and passes, I'm a recipient of the benefit, so should I just relieve myself to sit over?
You can do whatever you
here
want.
as a-
Don't be relieving yourself. You can excuse you
Jeez.
can
I was thinking of that, but I wasn't going to say it.
Well, sometimes you gotta say it. So,
Should I recuse myself? There you go. I'll do that, I'll go sit.
Paul?
Right.
In years past, it's gone both ways. We had members on the council that were already receiving the benefit. We went from 250 to 500, and they stayed, and they voted. Other ones have recused themselves.
Yeah.
It's your preference whether you want to recuse yourself or not.
I receive it. I have no problem with anybody
Yeah.
voting on this. It's a tax thing.
You can vote on it.
Pete?
I have no problem with Councilor Rothaus voting on it. I know he's used good, fair judgment and is,
I mean,
Say it.
Totally up to you, what you.
I won't be voting on it, so is it okay to stay here, or should I go sit down?
If you're not going to vote on it, you
I will.
should
Thank you.
join your veterans. Okay, so there's pros and, so we have some choices here.
Right.
ahead.
Okay, so one of the, as you know, during your retreat, this was one of the topics that you discussed. Several of the communities in our area, as well as around the state, have adopted this veterans credit. The concern was we couldn't possibly know how many veterans would come forward, and the reason why it might be a concern prior to getting the information was that the standard veterans tax exemption comes to $567,000. So we wanted to put some feelers out there to find out what other communities experienced in terms of new veterans coming forward that weren't receiving the credit before. And the survey says that in the highest amount that was the highest increase was in Nashua, and they had 2,570 new recipients, which times $500 for the. I'm sorry. The current veterans were 2,570, and when they changed it to the all veterans, an additional 79 people came forward. For a total of 79 people times $500, which is approximately $39,500. So there are three ways to go about adopting this veterans tax, new version of veterans tax credit. One would be to have the town council place it on the ballot. The other one would be to amend the charter by adopting a new ordinance, and I would imagine that the language would be to rescind the former one and adopt the new one. And the third way would be to have a citizens petition warrant article. So there's two different versions of a warrant article, one being that the council sponsors it, the second one being that it would come forward as a citizen's petition, or you could vote to accept it by ordinance or adopt it by ordinance, which would be like any other ordinance. So you would vote to put it on the next agenda, have a first reading, public hearing, then vote. That's all I have.
Okay, discussion, Pete?
I don't see why we don't do this on our own. I'm in support of our veterans, those who took the time, answered the call, and served, that they should get this benefit. So I don't know why we should move on our own to adjust the charter or the ordinance on our own. I'd be in favor of doing that.
Can I have a question? The previous ordinance, was that done by the selectmen, accepted by the selectmen or town council, or was that ballot?
It's been 50 years. We've been getting it we used to get $50.
Paul said it was a ballot vote.
It was.
It was
And
what?
that's a ballot.
But at that time, we were talking about $500,000. So I'm not saying that $39,000 is insignificant or is necessarily what our results would be, but there is a big difference.
Jackie?
I feel that since for many years now, the state of New Hampshire has enabled towns to give this exemption to people who served in wartime, I maintain that anybody who joins the service, they willingly go in even knowing that they might very well serve during wartime. And it's just the luck of the draw if you even stay stateside during the time of war. We don't differentiate, and I don't see why we would differentiate with this either.
Bill,
If you're a
do-
veteran, you have signed up for whatever.
Do you want to do it by ordinance?
What ordinance?
We would have to develop an ordinance to,
Right, so you can, there's three ways. You can
Okay.
either, the council can do it by ordinance, the council can put it on the ballot, or you can recommend a citizens initiative to put it on the ballot. So there's three
Oh, yeah.
options, and
Well, why don't we see opinion? Bill, do you have an opinion? Bill, are you awake? Well, either we're
Hey,
disconnected.
feeding the dogs.
Okay, he's feeding the dogs. Tom, do you have anything?
You know, I'm
I
always
am here,
torn on this.
Nancy, sorry.
Okay. You just got pulled over, we heard. Okay, do you have anything you want to say about the veterans' tax credit?
Well, I support it. I absolutely support it. But the thing that concerns me is there's a financial component to this, and while it is a small financial component, I believe the voters of the community should vote on it. I have a difference of opinion with Councilor Albert. I mean, it's not that I don't support it. I think it should be on the ballot in April for the voters to decide.
Tom Koenig?
You know, I'm always torn on these kinds of things because obviously the initial $500 or $250 or $50 or whatever it was to kind of support the people that did serve in wartime as kind of a gift, and it's a kind of an in perpetuity gift. It keeps giving every year, and it's like retirements and things like that. It just keeps costing and costing and costing. Not saying that they didn't offer their services, not saying, you know, anything of that nature. The question about how much expansion it involves to go to all veterans, I think is a little bit open still because there's been very few years of information here. The first year, from what I can tell, is 69 max in Nashua, but we don't know what the next year or the year after that could be once people start realizing that they can in fact apply for it. But on the other hand, you know, $500, I wouldn't turn it down if it was offered to me, and I can understand where people would like to get it, especially with taxes the way they are. On the other hand, again, I can keep playing this game all night. That just spreads that money out to the other citizens to have to pick it up, and we're already picking up $500,000. But I think it's probably something people would support. It's probably something that we're going to find going forward we end up with one way or another, and I would propose that we just get out in front of the court and adopt this as an ordinance in town. But I would propose doing that with the 3-year phase-in period, just to soften the increase. So my vote would be, and I'll make a motion if you want it, but that we
Can I express my
create an
opinion
ordinance.
first?
Yeah.
Before you do your motion?
Absolutely.
I know I sort of had an internal conversation with myself as well, because I felt exactly what you were feeling, but at the same time, I also felt that it had an impact on the other voters, as minimal as that may be, and that they should have a right to approve or not approve. And that's why I asked the question about how it originated. Was it by ballot or not? So to me, it just adds consistency. Individually, I would certainly encourage passing of it. I certainly would rule out having to have citizens having to do a petition, because I think that's onerous and that doesn't need to be done. So my personal opinion is I think it should be done before the voters, since they're the ones who are going to be deciding. And that's not minimizing the impact or the contribution the veterans have made. That has nothing to do with it. If anything, the citizens will validate that by overwhelmingly approving it. I can't envision it not, but I just feel like it's their money. They should be able to make the decision about whether they want to pick up the, I don't want to say slack, that's not the right word, but to be involved in the benefit. Jackie?
I completely agree.
So, yes, Peter?
I guess the fact that the numbers laid out before me, that when each of these communities listed adopted this, didn't alarm me. If I saw some.
But it's only been like a very short time, that's the problem.
Okay. I mean, with that said, I certainly would have no problem, then let's put it on a warrant article. I would support that.
Tom?
Just a point of order, if you notice the note at the bottom below the graph, it says if it does go on the ballot, people are going to have 5 days after the election to get into town hall and apply for it, to apply this year. If we put it on by ordinance, we can have it on in the next month or month and a half, maybe 2, depending upon timing. And then they'll have until April 15th to apply for it. So I don't think it's a big deal. The townspeople have adopted our charter, and the charter puts the town council in responsibility for financial issues of this nature. I think it would be reasonable for us to take that decision and be responsible for it. If you want to put it on the ballot, that's fine. It's just going to cause a little bit of grief for people this first year.
Jackie?
I recall when we were starting to give exemptions to the elderly or the indigent, we always did that at town meeting. And the people voted right then and there. I guess that was before we went to the...
Before the charter.
Yeah, yeah. So we do have a history of both.
There's no way of extending
No
the
argument
deadline,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's statutory.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Peter?
And originally, Tom, that's why I said I thought this was something that, we could do. Why put it on the voters, add another thing to the warrant article? And I think my impression was that universally, we want to do something for our veterans and those, and to include those who served even in non-wartime. So if a motion were to be made, I would still support going through an ordinance. So, because I agree with the fact that gives more time for people to make their application, whereas if it goes on a warrant article, that is a key point, and I'm glad you brought it up.
That's a key point.
5 days.
Yeah, that's a key point.
That's not much time.
Bill, do you understand what they're talking about, the days? Hello, Bill.
Hi, I'm right here. Yeah, I understand.
The
I
fi-
understand.
The 5 days that would really, unless there was a major attempt at notifying people, that's a very quick turnaround. Jackie?
I realize that, but there is every year after that if they miss it, and I'd rather do it correctly, and which to me is to put it to the voters.
Okay. I think that consensus has to be understood that everyone on this council has respect for veterans. And in no way does any opinion, one way or the other, reflect anything other than that. It's just the methodology and how it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we all agree it should be there, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That the credit should be there, but it's just the way it's going to happen.
How it's going to happen, right. Okay, well, it's going to be interesting. Okay, you wanted to make a motion, Tom, is that correct? I had stopped you from doing it.
No,
so-
you didn't stop me. I just
Okay.
offered that I would be willing to do so if you were ready to take one.
Yeah, I'm ready to take one.
I move that the town council would set up an ordinance and adopt RSA 7228B, the all veterans tax credit, by ordinance, and that we adopt a phase-in of 3-year period with $165 credit in the year 2018, $330 credit in the year 2019, and a $500 credit in the year 2020 and beyond.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, second by
Second.
Peter Albert. Any further discussion on that?
The 3-year phase-in is allowed by the law and has been adopted by Nashua, where I came up with those numbers.
Eileen?
I guess I would it's really not my role to advise, but I guess I would say that in my opinion, if you're going to adopt it, all veterans should get the same amount of money. So in my opinion, they should all get $500 rather than doing 3 different years.
But your motion stands as now, right? Yep. Okay, let's do a roll call vote on the motion. Does everyone understand the motion? It's applying the 500, but over a 3-year span, right? Okay, Tom Koenig,
Aye.
Jackie Flood,
No.
Peter Albert,
Aye.
Bill Boyd,
No.
Nancy Harrington, no. Motion gets defeated. 2, 3-0 in the negative. Harrington, Flood, and Boyd. Yes, Peter?
Can I make another motion at this point?
Absolutely. That's
I would
been
actually-
defeated.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Could you just repeat who seconded the motion?
did.
Peter Albert seconded. That's right.
I
Peter
guess,
Guerrero.
and I don't want to repeat word for word what Tom said, but basically that same motion, but saying that going with the $500 tax credit immediately in the form of an ordinance.
Second.
Okay, Peter Albert made the motion with Tom Koenig second. Okay, Tom Koenig, obviously.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Jackie Flood. Oh, did you have a
I'm
question?
so sorry. Yes, I had a comment.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm going to vote no on this because I really do feel rather strongly that it should go to the voters. It's not that I oppose the concept. I'm very much in favor of it, but I don't like the idea of us imposing a further exemption without the townspeople saying it's okay. That's how I feel.
Okay. So with that, Jackie Flood, your vote is?
No.
Peter Albert?
Aye.
Bill Boyd?
Nay.
Nancy Harrington, nay. 2, 3-0. Harrington, Boyd, and Flood in opposition. Now, Jackie, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would. I move that the town council write a warrant article to be on the ballot for the April 10th town meeting for the voters to decide if there should be a $500 tax credit for all veterans in Merrimack upon their registering.
Motion made,
Seconded.
motion made by Jackie Flood, second by Bill Boyd.
Mayor Cohen?
Pete, go right ahead.
And I guess this falls in with what Jackie said earlier, but, I'm certainly not wanting to impose any taxes on anybody, but I'm also one that, I think there's issues of certain things that just are common sense, and this, to me, that's what it was. But, I'm going to support this motion anyways, because I want to at least get these veterans the credit that they're due. But originally, I would have preferred we did it on our own, I think the community, Merrimack would support that. But I'm certainly going to do this. But there is that's my thought process or logic originally. But again, I want them just to get this credit at this point. So.
I understand. Any other discussion before vote? Okay, roll call. Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and I'm going to say aye. So that's 5-0-0. Motion passes to put on the ballot. Okay? The two of you over there. And I just want to reiterate the same thing. It reminds me, I know, for example, the charter allows the town council to rezone, right? You can do some zoning changes. I fundamentally don't believe that should happen without a town vote. I don't care if we have the authority or not. And so that's why I support the exemption, and I will do everything I can to be able to express that opinion for the positive passing of it, but I just fundamentally believe that those kinds of votes should be done. That's all. Yep.
And it's all well said, Nancy, and I think it delays the inevitable, because I think the
Yeah.
citizens in Merrimack are going to come out in
I
support of
agree.
this.
Oh, yeah.
And
I agree.
Yep.
And again, it will just validate
Yeah.
that even more. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Finley, you can come back now. I should officially note that Finley Rothaus has recused himself from this
What a bad choice
discussion
of words.
and vote because he would be recipient of the benefit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's deviate from the
And I will take advantage of it.
town code. And you want to make an announcement about the tax rate you just got today.
Yes, hot off the press, Paul has just come in and given us the new tax rate. The old tax rate was $22.79. The new tax rate will be $23.37, which is a 58-cent increase. And I'd like to point out to you the components and how they contribute to the 58-cent increase. The municipal or town portion of the tax rate is a decrease of 1 cent. And I think it's very important to note that the municipal part of the tax rate includes everything that you think of in terms of city services. The police, the fire, the public works, snow plowing, street lights, road improvements, bridges,
hall.
town hall, assessing,
Library.
Library.
all of these different things are all combined to make up 21% of the tax rate. And that, again, I repeat, is a 1 cent decrease from last year. The combined total of the school tax rate is a 58-cent increase. And the two combined amounts are now represent 74% of the tax rate, school portion of the tax bill. And the county had an increase of 1 cent. So the three combined, -1 for the town, 58-cent increase combined for the school, and a positive increase of 1 cent for the county accounts for the 58 cents. So the municipal, again, is 21% of the tax rate, the county is 5%, and the school represents 74%. Thank you.
Peter?
Eileen, thank you for that explanation, and as always, can we get this put on the news portion of our website, the one that people click on first? I know it's going to go out with the tax bill, but if anybody looks at our website, they can look at that and see that right away, too.
Yes, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this the letter that's going to go out with the tax bill?
Yes.
Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Paul?
I'm going to need 4 counselors tomorrow afternoon to come and sign the warrant so we can get that over to the tax collector so she can start running bills first thing Monday morning so we can get these bills out as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah. You have to make
Okay.
sure those are sent out.
So if I could, Becky will
Not for Christmas.
send out a text when the warrant's ready for signature. And if you're in the area, please come in and sign. I'm going to need 4.
I should be around, too.
I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be able to.
Not during business hours.
Bill
I can
won't be
come in.
around.
I've got the boys tomorrow.
Will
so I'll
Counselor Boyd be
I'll bring
available?
them.
Okay, consideration of changes to chapters of the Merrimack Town Code, first reading. And the town council to consider the acceptance of recommended changes to the following chapters, and we have to do this one at a time. Let me get my little list here. The first, Chapter 90, Alarm Systems. And Chief Curry is here in case there are any questions related to actually a lot of these chapters. Okay, this is literally first reading, so Chapter 90, is there any questions? Yes, Tom?
I've had heartburn with this one ever since it was adopted, and I understand Chief Courier knows that as well.
Would you like Chief Courier to come up and answer questions?
Well, I want to talk about it. If there needs to
Okay.
be a response, then that would be fine.
Okay.
Just so that people know, the emergency alarm system, or the alarm systems chapter, does have a clause in it under the definition of an emergency alarm system that says that an emergency alarm system, quote unquote, shall not include residential smoke, fire, or carbon monoxide detectors. And that at least makes me feel more comfortable that we're not suddenly going to start chasing after residents because their alarms are ringing for whatever reason. Mine has created a false alarm or two with spiders going across them. And but you reach 6 before they get upset in this alarm and all that kind of stuff. The other thing that kind of concerns me about this, as I read through all of the ones through here, is the language variations, where this one many times talks about the chief of police and the chief of the fire department, whereas the very next ordinance defines who the chief of the fire department is and then talks about the fire chief when you read through the ordinance. And the ones after that don't define who the chief of the fire department is, but talks about the fire chief. And things like that. So they don't read consistently as far as the legalese of them is concerned. And I don't know if it makes sense to try and go through, and if we need a definition of who the chief of police is and who the chief of the fire department is, then we could do that and then make it a little bit easier to read as you go through it, because every time it stops to talk about the chief of the police or the chief of the fire department, it's just it runs on and it's difficult to read through, and that's in multiple chapters through or paragraphs throughout.
Well, might it
90.
be a good idea to come to a consensus as to a definition and then have it applied to all of them?
I thought that would have already been enunciated.
I would hope
either
so.
in
Upon
the
review.
policy, not necessarily in the ordinance, but you'd have to go find out where that is and know who it is. I don't know that it's necessary in this document specifically.
Yeah. I mean, the second one talks about the fire chief under the definitions, number 102. Fire chief is the chief of the Merrimack Fire Department, or a named and authorized designee. And then throughout the rest of the ordinance, it can talk about the fire chief, and it doesn't have to talk about and or his designee and things of that nature. So if it's important that we identify it that way, I think we should be consistent and identify it in all the definitions or in a single place out front, so that we can just talk about the fire chief or the police chief instead of having to say and or his designee and all that good stuff.
Or,
I'll try to answer that if I
go
could.
ahead, Chief, go
I
ahead.
think what happens, these ordinances were established many, many years apart. And the first ordinance for alarm systems, I think that's long before I got here. And we just keep modifying that to not change the meaning, but to give ownership to it. And then the blasting ordinance is only since the MPO came in, the outlets. And so that was done, I guess, with modern terms and modern procedures. You know what I mean? Definitions first. You know, you have a hierarchy of how you write an ordinance now. And I think if we go back and try to rewrite all the ordinances, we could be here for a long time, because then it opens up a lot of,
It does,
You know.
but that's why we review this every
Yeah.
5 years, is so we can keep it current and cleaned up and stuff like that. So rather than ignoring it again, something as simple as that, which would make it easier to read, could be made balanced between them fairly easily, I would think. Just put in a definition for the fire chief and the police chief,
And just superimpose it onto each one.
and take it out of all the different paragraphs and just use the fire chief or police chief instead of having to say the chief of the fire department and or his designee.
Right,
I mean, it starts, excuse me, Bill, it starts sounding like Bill Boyd when you're trying to read it.
this is an honorarium of Bill Boyd.
So would you be receptive to having a definition of police chief and fire chief submitted to us for approval, and then have it implemented in all of the codes?
Yeah. Well,
that-
where
would
it's
that
appropriate,
mean
because,
where it's- well,
for
wherever.
example, in 121, in 102, it specifically says the fire chief and/or his designee. So if it's appropriate for it to talk about and/or his designee as opposed to talk about him individually, then we can define it up front and use it that way throughout. But there may be some instances where it's supposed to specifically talk about the fire chief only, in which case you could say the chief of the fire department, if you had the definition for the fire chief out front.
Correct.
Yeah,
It said
most of the
and
ordinances and regulations are covered with the fire chief or designee, to the fact that if there is a circumstance where you have a retirement and you have no fire chief, there's a designee now established, so the ordinance are still enforceable. And it's the same thing that with state regulations too, it's or designee within those. So if we could take this same definition
And just apply it
police
to
chief
all.
and just put it in that other ordinance, and it would be done
Put 'em
with
all the
it,
same.
then you can take out
Is
the or
there
designee.
any time you should not have or designee?
Should not.
You can't
Because
think of
somebody
anything.
has to be responsible, a fire chief or police chief,
That
or
would be
their
true for police
designee
too.
is responsible by law.
Yeah,
Yes,
and,
Peter.
and just to follow up with Chief Courier, I know at the police department, John Spence, the communications supervisor, will handle a lot of the applications, and he's considered the police
Designee
chief's
for that.
designee. But I agree with Tom, let's put one definition at the front, and our purpose of reviewing these are to streamline this whole process and take out unneeded wording and stuff like that, so I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so Paul's nodding over there like, we can do that.
For the public hearing.
For the public hearing, perfect.
And if we can't, we'll let you know.
Excellent,
We should be able to.
You can.
excellent. Thank
Well,
you.
there's definitions anyway, so it's just adding those, the police chief and fire chief under the definitions that are already there.
Yeah.
And then it would
Right.
solve that problem, and
That's
take out the
correct.
or designee throughout the document.
That's correct.
Yep.
And that, with computers, that's easy to,
Yeah, just
I don't know how to do it.
find
I know
and.
it's easy.
It's easy, just
Becky
find
knows
or
how to
delete
do it.
Or replace.
Okay, so chapter 90, aside from the application,
That's all I
any
had.
other questions? Okay, I'd accept a motion.
Move chapter 90 to public hearing as modified.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, second by Peter Albert. Okay, has to be a roll call vote, I'm assuming, because we're still voting on this stuff.
Aye.
Okay. Tom Koenig, aye. Okay, Finley,
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
And myself, aye. 600. Chapter 102, Blasting and Explosives. Any discussion on that?
Hold on a second. John and Mark. No, that wasn't it.
Any? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, move Chapter 102 to a public hearing.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by Finley Rothaus. Roll call vote, Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
Finley Rothaus,
Yes.
Nancy
Trying
Harrington,
to trick
yes.
me.
600. Actually, I had you, Chris. So that's 600. Okay, chapter 123, emergency lanes.
Yeah, if it's in there.
Would all of them, yeah. Peter, you had a question, or?
Well, it isn't,
No, I'm all set on this, it's the next chapter.
Okay,
this one talks about a police chief and a fire chief, doesn't have a definition. So you can add a definition, I guess,
Right.
if that's,
to be consistent, correct. Accept a motion?
Madam Chair, move Chapter 123 to a public hearing.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by
Second.
Peter Albert. Roll call vote, Tom Koenig,
aye.
Finley Rothaus.
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and I say aye, so that's 600. Chapter 130, fireworks.
I had a question.
Tom?
Under 130-4, the line states, the fire chief, police chief, or their designee shall be authorized to seize, take, remove, or cause to be removed at the expense of the owner all fireworks possessed or offered for sale in violation of this chapter. I just wonder what that means.
think that goes back into the sale of fireworks under 130-3.
You need to push your button, you're not,
Oops, excuse me.
that's okay.
I believe that's referencing the section 130-3 sale of fireworks in the community. Somebody's selling fireworks, the fire chief or police chief has the right to seize those fireworks that are being sold and
Okay,
dispose of
but
them.
possessed or offered for sale. Offered for sale goes back to that, but possessed with intent to sell? Or, I mean, just possessing it doesn't necessarily mean you're selling it. And you put the or offered for sale, which,
Well, I guess if you have 2 boxes and you only have 1 box out and you're selling 1, you're possessing those, but I was only selling these. So if
Well,
you're
it-
selling out of 1 truck or 1 vehicle, anything you possess in that vehicle or offering for sale would be seizable by the fire chief or police chief. So he could say, well, I wasn't selling those are mine. So how do you prove that he was going to sell those?
yeah, I just don't, I don't feel like that phraseology describes
Right.
that you're seizing him because he was offering fireworks for sale. So, I'm not
just
sure
trying
how to
explain,
reword it.
This was before I wrote this one too.
I know.
So, yeah, we can
I'm not-
explain it, yeah.
Challenging
Yeah.
you personally, but I just feel like it's
Clarity, yeah.
it's not clearly stating that an individual was offering them for sale and therefore is in violation, and any fireworks he possesses can be seized.
Yep.
Which is what you're saying, but I had to use a lot more words to say that same thing.
Correct.
So if you took out possessed and just said all fireworks offered for sale, would that?
Well, his argument is the guy could say, well, I wasn't offering those ones for sale, you can't take them. But anybody found in violation of the of 130-3 who is selling fireworks,
All that he
all of
possesses,
his,
right.
all of his
Yeah.
inventory could be possessed, or something like that.
You ready to Paul?
Is there a way to phrase that?
I think so, just give me a second.
Peter, did you have a suggestion? about this?
In looking at this, I agree to remove the possessed, I guess, because, I don't guess, I know, because it would have, we can have fireworks. You can have fireworks, certain fireworks. You can't possess illegal fireworks, and there's a definition of what fireworks are here, but, I think this really goes to somebody who decides to set up a shop or a stand, maybe for the Fourth of July holiday, and we don't allow that under this code.
Finley?
Where there is a limitation, if you finish that sentence, that after the common all fireworks possessed or offered for sale, in violation of this chapter, I think it does work the way it's written. Because if you can possess fireworks that you're not selling that are illegal fireworks,
That's correct.
and so I think
Doesn't say anything about illegal fireworks in this chapter.
That's
Not a
state
word.
law.
no, but it's
Huh?
right.
That's state law.
Well, but it didn't say anything here.
It
It says in violation of this chapter.
Well, the fireworks, RSA 160.
right.
Well, 160
That's the
is the sale
definition.
of fireworks within the town of Merrimack, so.
Paul?
I think I might have come up with a little bit of wordsmith here.
Okay.
So, it does, at the expense of owner, all fireworks offered for sale and in possession, in his/her possession, in violation of this chapter. So, all fireworks offered for sale and in his or her possession in violation of this chapter.
Can be seized by the police chief or fire chief.
Right, because what that will do is that will go back to what the fire chief was saying, that those in my trunk are my own. I just bought an extra Roman candle that I'm selling. So if it's in his possession and he has one for sale and he's illegally selling fireworks, they can seize
They
all
can.
in his or her possession. They can seize them all. Does that work legally, Peter? From a law standpoint.
Yeah.
And that'll
you
cover-
have to-
That's what I'm asking you. Sorry. Didn't
No,
mean to
I
put
mean,
you on the
yeah, it
spot.
works for me. I mean, because you also, you have your definition of what fireworks are, so
Right.
that works for me.
And that covers if you set up a
Does
shop
that
or
work
you
for
work
you?
them out of the back of your
Yeah,
vehicle.
it's better than this.
And I don't mind the change, but it does work the way it's written,
It does, yeah.
I believe. But I can go for the change if it makes everybody more comfortable.
Okay, so
Because I
everyone's-
believe that, because it's referenced above, what's allowed, that that would be, if you have other than that, it would be in violation, whether or not you're selling them. If you're selling them, that's a problem, and if you have something that's
Yeah,
against,
and it's almost, I mean, if you're gonna take these fireworks, whether you're any authority, you're gonna have to prove that they were selling it, so you're gonna have to make a case on that, so.
correct.
You know, you're not just gonna randomly assume.
What if, Finley, we turn it around, because the way the sentence breaks up, I'm not sure which the in violation of this chapter modifies. So if you said all fireworks offered for sale, because that automatically puts it in violation of the chapter, or possessed in violation of this
Okay,
chapter.
yeah. That works great.
Yeah, all fireworks offered for sale or possessed in violation of this chapter.
Yep.
Um,
Jackie?
Well, I don't see any other kind of violation. All they speak of here that I can see is selling.
The offering, they're selling, right.
That's all they're looking at, because the ordinance was designed to not allow the sale of fireworks in Merrimack, not prohibit fireworks in Merrimack.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
and
that's what it's trying
certainly
to do,
does.
that's what it says.
Yeah, says that.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion with the revision, suggested revision?
I move chapter 130 with the modifications discussed at this meeting to
So-
public hearing.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, second by
Second?
Finley Rothaus. Actually, here he said. Okay, roll call, Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Finley Rothaus,
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and I say aye, so that's 6-0-0. Food Service Establishments, Chapter 136.
I didn't have anything.
Madam Chair, I would move Chapter 136 to a public hearing.
Motion made by Bill Boyd, second by,
May I make a comment real fast, though?
can you do a
I-
second, then do a comment?
Huh?
Second. Go ahead.
Okay, Tom
Oh, okay,
Koenig.
sorry.
Now go right ahead, Pete.
I'm assuming, because I don't see any changes as I have in the past, that they, code, there's no recommended changes. You don't, nobody sees an issue with it.
This is a kind of a touchy subject right now with the state, because they're doing some revisions. They're not printed and they're not out yet. Okay, so we have the revisions that are potential.
Pending.
So this may come back again.
Okay, which is
But
fine.
right now, we don't have the full write-up on those provisions, how they affect us, how they need to be implemented, and the recommendations for fines from the state at this time. So trying to move this forward with changes is going to cause more aggravation than it would be worth just to leave it alone, let it go. When that all comes out and finalize
So when the
it,
time
we'll bring
comes,
it
you'll,
back
yeah, there we go.
in totality, so we
Yeah.
can do the whole thing rather than piecemeal.
Yeah,
It's a great answer, thank you.
yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call vote, Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Finley Rothaus,
Yes.
Jackie Flood,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
and I'm going to say aye, so that's 6-0-0. Chapter 174, swimming pools. Last thing we're thinking of nowadays. Tom?
Yeah, in 174-5, under portable and above-ground pools, I just want to understand what the sentence is trying to say. It reads, portable swimming pool or above-ground pool whose measurements exceed 10 linear feet in diameter and contain a greater depth of water than 1 foot, comma, here's where I get confused, shall be brought up to a height of 4 feet and shall have a retractable ladder and/or safety latch on the gate barring entry to the pool. The pool walls need to be brought up to 4 feet, a
Shall
gate
have-
needs to be included, a
Shall have
fence,
a fence around it.
it doesn't say
Up to
that.
4 feet. Well, sometimes you read this and you assume,
Okay.
so we have to add, shall
We
have.
need to add that shall
be
have a
fenced in.
fence
Yep,
of
Shall
at least
have
4
a-
feet
Yep.
erected around it.
correct.
Shall have a fence brought up to a height of 4 feet. Is that correct?
So if it's an 8-foot diameter and it's 15 inches deep,
It's greater
You're
than 1
just trying to
foot.
cause trouble now.
It's greater than 12, so
Well,
you need
no,
a fence.
because I keep a pool in my van for the work I do to pump water into it. It's 500 gallons, and it's 15 or 18 inches high, with 8-foot diameter. That should be.
You don't leave it out overnight?
No, I don't.
Oh, he's just being a wise
You're,
guy.
no, you're in control
You're
of
just trying to
that pool
extend
at
the
all
meeting,
times.
aren't you?
No, I truly wasn't.
Did you tell Lori that was her swimming pool?
I did.
Shall have a fence brought up, okay.
Actually, it should, I want to go back to Tom's exact definition, and what Finley said, and should be or, and or. Should be and or a greater depth of water than 12
There we
feet.
go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, because I truly wasn't doing that at the bus stops.
And
As soon as you said that, I went back and I said, oh, there's an or missing.
whose measurements exceed and/or 10 linear feet in diameter.
And/or contain a greater depth of water than 1 foot.
Okay, and/or. Get that, Paul?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry, I have a couple questions here. Does the pool wall qualify? Because if I have a above-ground pool that's 18 feet round,
Correct.
my thing's 4 feet high.
It qualifies.
So
Yes,
the
it does.
pool's wall also qualify as the fence.
That's where it says retractable ladder.
Okay.
So nobody can climb the ladder to the pool. You move the ladder, then now it's like a fence.
So how do we state that?
Because now you put have a fence, you did away with the wall, the pool wall.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So that was my one question. My other question is, these in the last couple of years, when this thing's been running since 1969 and been around, they've come up with those elephant pools now
Yeah, that'll blow up.
that a blow up kind of deal, and they're 3 foot in depth. So you person needs to have a fence around one of those now,
But it's,
Yeah.
according to this, right?
Yes.
So I'm
Oh, wow.
sorry, I don't mean to throw more
but you're right.
brush on the fire, so to speak.
That's because it's dangerous. you know,
But it
for a
is dangerous,
toddler,
more
it
than
is.
3 feet deep, or more than 2 feet
Yeah,
deep.
you could get them up to 4 feet if you really. You could get them up to 4 feet if you put a lot of water in it.
I guess that I'm expanding on it is the kiddie pools. Some of them are over a foot tall. 18-inch little walls on them with this little slide in them and stuff, and I'm not trying to make fun here, but those kind of fit that, and, you know.
So a greater depth of 1 foot.
Or are they 10 feet
that's
across,
not-
I guess, is
that's
the
not
question.
deep.
And/or, right? It's
No.
and,
What, and/or is the depth.
The depth.
So if it's more than a foot deep, or if it's 10 feet across.
okay, all right. Sounds good.
A lot of them around the lake.
But you're right, if it's 18 or 15 inches deep, then that would, even if it's only 4 feet across, that would violate the and/or. But you have to leave it out with water in it to be in violation, right?
Correct. And most of them.
We don't really
water
say
items.
it leaves left
So
overnight,
it's
but
really not set up with filtration also. You're absolutely correct. Although I had a portable one that I bet the size of 3 feet, and it did have a little filter on it.
Well, those blow-ups do.
Yeah, so, but that's something that I suppose you would have to know. I mean, most of this is covered by personal homeowners insurance, but if we're gonna have it, it's, we've got it out here.
If we have an ordinance, that's something the insurance
you
company
can drown in a
back
foot of water as easily as you can drown in.
I hate to say this, but I had one of those elephant pools, and I didn't know I needed a fence.
Why not,
Most
why not
wouldn't.
say?
I'm sorry,
it-
but but
And I don't know, but I'm sitting here thinking about it. Why not, could you put in the word fixed? Where, you've got your above
Well,
ground.
the whole
pools
thing
are-
is a portable swimming pool. This whole paragraph is about a portable swimming pool.
Yeah,
Portable and above
portable
ground.
and above ground.
I think
I feel-
the way it's been going, it's not caused a problem, it's not been challenged, so I don't know, I mean, because I get the point of what you're trying to do, but I think there are some that, people will have to know,
I'd rather get rid of a bunch of these ordinances rather than try and
But, no,
make
fair
them
enough.
correct, but
Fair enough.
but I hear what you're saying.
But the rare,
But
go ahead.
yes and no, okay? Because this comes up a lot in the summertime, and people have to put fences up, and we require protection, and a lot of that is, most things are like, your 3 foot has retractable ladders, okay? So we kind of, again, this was written in '69, but I think the intent needs to be there, Because if you don't have something that gives the building department authority to say,
Right.
you have to put a fence up, or in lieu of a fence, you have to have a retractable ladder, then you end up having a lot of dangerous situations in backyards that are not fenced in, and kids are running everywhere.
But this is saying, let's say it's a 3-foot one,
It needs a fence.
then it needs a fence, a 4-foot fence.
Put something
Or you
4
gotta
feet.
lift it a foot in the air, so it's 4
It's gotta
feet.
be 4 feet off the ground.
The
Top of the
wall
wall
is,
has to be
yeah.
4 feet off the ground.
So
And
the
with a
ladder,
tra- and with a ladder,
doesn't do
retractable
the trick
ladder.
in that until you get it 4 feet high.
Well, the ladder's 4 feet high, because the ladder's gotta go over the 3.
Right.
So the ladder being 4 feet high with the retractable, we kinda,
Yeah, but the wall
Massage
of the
that.
pool.
I understand.
Has to
so
be 4
that's-
feet,
Yeah.
even if it's a blow up and there's only a foot of water in it, you still have to do it.
Dude,
Or
are
you
there-
can add a statement in here that says, or other applications approved by the authority having jurisdiction to provide adequate safety, which we do in our sprinkler rules.
There's got to be recommendations by pool trade things. I'll have to dig into it maybe.
And we,
Because that's what we should do is, whatever.
It's a standard.
Right. We don't have to make it bigger than it is, because maybe 4 foot is bigger than what's required. I don't know. I don't know where you.
Is there
was
any way,
pulled
I
from.
think we should be able to find that somehow?
Yeah.
4 feet is our current requirement in section 1.
But did we
This
come
is
up with
the
that?
land
It was
of
like,
record.
sometimes
doubt
somebody
it.
wanted to put sprinkler system in a
I thought it had to be
double-deck
6.
parking garage at Fidelity, because they thought it would be a good idea. But it was not even recommended in code, and it would have been above and beyond. And so I don't know if 4 feet is above and beyond, or if it is in fact a recommendation. I don't know.
Chief, would the state have code for swimming pools?
I think, I don't know exactly what the state has for swimming pools, I can look it up. But
Would
this
you-
came from somewhere, and we keep pushing 4 feet. And
Right.
if you look at in-ground pools, when they install an in-ground pool, 4 foot is the minimum height of all fences on in-ground pools. That's the standard in
Yeah,
in
so
that
I
industry.
think that's where it comes from. It's just 4
Okay.
foot is the.
So if you have a pool,
It was
a
for 54,
pool,
right?
and that's what it says in the first paragraph, any pool must be, and then it goes on to further say what kind of latches, and then applicability comes with our 10 linear feet. So that's where we kept throwing in all these 2-foot pools and the 3-foot pools, and then where do those fall in this 4-foot fence? So I think we were trying to, way back since '69, determine where that, I guess, standard applies to, for safety for people out, you know what I mean? So,
Pete?
I mean, I know one resource I used to do was other towns when it came to codes and see what their,
I think this is pretty much what most towns do. Bedford's 4 foot, Nashville's 4 feet around pools.
That might be what's.
I think that's the standard, yeah.
I know it's actually, I had to replace my above-ground pool and it's 52 inches now. You can't buy anything.
I thought they were 54. Yeah, now most pools are definitely 50-some inches.
But you can still get those from Walmart, the elephant
I
pools.
know. I'm going to blame Dan Brown. I bought mine from him.
But your 52 or 54 inch pool doesn't need a fence because the pool is the fence, as
Right.
long as the ladder retracts.
Right.
So nobody can climb up. So it is fenced in.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's above 4 feet. Most people
Okay.
have a hard time getting over a 4-foot fence, a child or kid or somebody, teenager, not so much.
My kids texted the hell out of me. I just realized.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that little kids, the littler ones that would be in danger on a pool, they're the ones that don't even know property bounds, and they wander all around, and they get out of your sight we've all had kids get out of our sight for 5 minutes. And I think that's what the fences really are for.
So let's say you have a foot or 18-inch pool, it's in your backyard, you fill it with water, okay, and you have your kids swimming in it during the day, and then you're done for that pool during the day. It's not filtered pool. So this ordinance says if you don't dump that water out when you leave that pool, you need a 4-foot fence around it. That's protecting somebody else from coming in that yard. It's
It
kind of
doesn't
what
really
it's
say that,
doing.
but that's what it's for.
It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, really, trespassers.
Okay, can we wrap this one up?
So do we want to modify that sentence to say something like
And/or.
Well, and then comma, shall, the walls shall either be 4 feet in height with a retractable ladder or a fence of 4-foot height must surround the pool or something like that.
Yeah,
If left
shall be,
overnight.
Should have a 4-foot
Shall
fence
have a
around the pool
4-foot,
or
right.
equivalent safety measures as approved by the authority having jurisdiction would be the building department. You know what I mean? So if you have a 3-foot pool and you look at it and it's got a filter in it, but the ladder retracts,
we're trying to get the language here.
it sounds, you know what I mean?
So you think that's appropriate to say the authority
having?
having jurisdiction?
It says that in the building codes.
Do you have it, Paul?
No.
I didn't think you did either, so. Read it
Can
again.
you work with the chief and come up with
Yes,
the appropriate
perfect.
language based on the building code?
We'll bring it back in public.
Excellent.
That'll be awesome.
Excellent.
That works? Okay.
Motion made with to be determined. The specific language will be available for the public hearing for Chapter 174
174.
swimming pools. A motion,
Yes.
Tom Koenig, second by
Yes.
Finley Rothaus. Roll call vote, Tom Koenig.
Yes.
Finley Rothaus.
Yes.
Jackie Flood.
Yes.
Peter Albert.
Yes.
Bill Boyd.
Aye.
Nancy Harrington, aye, 600.
And council, I will verify with state and surrounding communities if they've upgraded their requirements and what they are, so we can incorporate that.
Chapter 181, Traffic and Special Event Management.
Madam
Yes,
Chair,
Peter.
I'd
Yep.
like to speak to this.
Yep.
And I base it upon my experience. And I understand that this addresses traffic and special events, and the chief of police seeking the council's approval for setting up temporary no parking areas. And I think it's somewhat restrictive, and the effect in the purpose of there are unforeseen events with very short time frames to prepare for them, to set up no parking areas. And I would suggest to you that some of those are when we get presidential or vice presidential visits, which could be on a yearly basis. I know that I oversaw several of these, and the Secret Service gives me sometimes about 12 hours leeway on where the president or vice president was going to be. And we needed to, there were certain situations where being able to put those signs up would have helped. So what I'm suggesting with this is not for us to figure this out, but to send this back to the police chief and have his staff put in some wording, something to the effect of, regarding any type of unforeseen emergency situation, to give them the discretion to say, look, if the president's coming to the Madeline Bennett School, and I've got to put signs, no parking signs up and down certain areas, or if you go into some area, I've got to be able to do that. And those signs do help.
So on those occasions where the very limited time in advance notice.
Yeah, I mean, we have, now you have to, if
Basically,
you read
that's
this, you have to, the chief would have to go to the town council, the town manager, and then get approval from the town council. In some ways, it's onerous. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, Tom?
No, I agree with you 100%. And as I recall, sitting on the council when we adopted this, the intent was that the police chief is in charge of traffic in the town and responsible for emergency situations like that, or situations that would be called urgent and emergency, to be able to put up signs within an hour or 2 or 12 as necessary for the safe flow of traffic on town streets. This was intended more to deal with things like the Black Friday sale at the mall and stuff like that, where they would have advance warning and they might impact larger areas of town, that the town council would be informed, and therefore the town could be informed of what was going on with as much advance notice as possible. But I think we still sit with the situation like we do in emergencies, where the fire chief is our emergency management director. He has a lot of authority to do things in town under emergency situations, and under a situation where a president or vice president was coming to town and things had to happen now without time for appearing before a town council. I think the police chief has that authority now. That's what I was led to believe and understand when we implemented this.
And And you
so
make great sense, and I thought that at first, and I was told several times over that we can't post those temporary no parking signs without approval from the council.
Oh.
And so that's why that's kind of my experience, kind of brings it up. And, you know, I
So
guess,
if it's not here, then there should be an ordinance, or we should find out what needs to be done to allow that to happen.
yeah, you know, and, you know, and granted, you have a traffic accident, you have to adjust patterns, you know, you have trees go down, those have to be, but you have something like a short notice. And here in New Hampshire, first in the nation, we get all these great visitors, so, that affect traffic. So that's all. I'd say just, if we could, Paul, maybe go back to the chief of police and ask her to review this and see what recommendations they'd make to the council.
I think we can add another 181-5 or whatever and talk about those special situations.
Okay, so why don't we wait? Let's table this,
Yes, great.
and we'll bring it up with that revision. Thanks, Pete. Motion to table.
By Paul McCallie.
I'm going to make that motion. Second,
Second.
Tom Koenig. Okay, roll call. This is to table, Chapter 181. Tom Koenig,
Aye.
Finley Rothaus,
Yes.
Jackie Fled,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd.
Aye.
And I'm also saying aye, 600. Okay. I gotta find my agenda here. Where am
I only have one
I?
thing.
Here I am. Okay, approve the minutes, two meetings, October 12th, 2017, which had been previously tabled.
That's all I have.
That's all I have.
Packet.
Oh, it's supposed to be October 12th and October 26th.
Not in table.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. Thank you very much. So it's October 12th.
Move to approve the minutes of Thursday, October 12th with corrections.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, seconded by
Second?
Peter Albert. Do we have corrections?
Yeah, on page 3 of 22, in line 19, it says, Councilor Koenig remarked it is an HVDC line in New Hampshire. What I was trying to do is ask for clarification, so I think it should read, Councilor Koenig asked if it is an HVDC line. Asked if it is.
Okay.
Just, and then she acknowledged that it was. There was another, excuse me, there's another change in page 10 of 22, lines 44 to 46.
10.
Page 10. Actually, line 45, my mark went too wide. If talking about is the town served, I think it should have a comma and then quotes. If talking about, quote, is the town served adequately, unquote, comma, he would say no.
Yep.
Okay.
It just puts the meaning across a little better.
Yep.
I think that's all I have.
Okay, any other
That's all I have.
comments, corrections? Okay, we have a motion on the table with corrections. I'm going to do a roll call for accepting the minutes with corrections. Tom Koenig,
Yes.
Finley Rothaus, Jackie Fled,
Yes.
Peter Albert,
Yes.
Bill Boyd,
Aye.
Nancy Harrington, aye, 600. Okay, comments from the press. Seeing none. Comments from the public. Also seeing none. Comments from the council. Mr. Boyd, anything?
Just very quickly, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for letting me participate by phone, doing the roll calls and that kind of thing. I know it's a little bit of a change, but I just wanted to say on behalf of my wife and my dogs, thank you very much.
My wife, my dogs. You're very welcome.
At least he got that in the right order.
Exactly. Anyone else want to say anything? Council?
I have a comment.
Tom Koenig?
Eileen gave this to me from her town manager report. The planning board will continue discussions regarding traffic associated with a potential multifamily project on Executive Park Drive at their meeting on November 7th at 7 p.m. This is a continuation of the design review meeting from October 17th and is still preliminary and non-binding discussion. I also want to point out that there are two places that the planning board asked at that meeting, because they were promoting a peer-to-peer light program where one light through a Bluetooth connection or some other radio connection would help another light to know what to do, and that would help at Executive Park Drive from the intersection of Greeley, whatever those streets are. We asked them if there's any of those situations installed, because apparently DOT is looking to be able to install those in New Hampshire, and they'd love to have us do that so they could get a better look at one. And the response back was that there are two of those being used in Needham, Mass, currently in use and being used. And we could go, I was given specific information on intersections, but I think that's good news that we could go and talk to them in Needham, Mass about their experiences, and not just based on what the applicant is telling us. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn? Tom Koenig, motion, second by Peter Albert. Roll call vote. Tom
Aye.
Koenig.
Yes.
Finley Rathouse.
Aye.
Jackie Flood.
Yes.
Peter Albert. Bill Boyd.
Aye.
Beatty Harrington. Aye. 6-0-0. Good night, Bill.
Good night. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.